Since ascending to the epitomization of 90s pop culture and comedy, Seinfeld has garnered a quasi-universe of its own, calcifying it in the American cultural zeitgeist. Creators Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld ostensibly became progenitors to the rise of autofiction, their blur between character and creator massing the show to an almost cult-like following that continues to bleed into younger generations. The original idea for what would later become the Seinfeld we know and love was initially intended to be a one-off, hour-and-a-half-long comedy special on NBC. Jerry left the cast with a very expensive parting gift: Patrick Warburton, known for playing Elaine's flighty on-off boyfriend David Puddy, revealed to an Australian news outlet that on the final day of filming, Seinfeld gifted each cast-mate a custom-engraved Cartier watch. Elaine's New Yorker made it to the real world, in a 1998 episode. After being completely befuddled by a cartoon appearing in the New Yorker, Elaine arranges a meeting with the work's artist in a failed attempt to understand the joke. After decrying the magazine's oblique cartoons and creating one of her own, the editors, strangely impressed, decide to hire her. Each episode's theme song is unique. Composer Jonathan Wolfe revealed in 2017 that, due to variation in length and content of Seinfeld's stand-up intros, each episode had to have the theme tailored specifically to it, matching the rhythm of the music to the pacing of Seinfeld's routine. George and Jerry's final scene mirrors their first. In one of the show's first scenes, Jerry and George have a conversation wherein Jerry criticizes the button placement on George's shirt. Later, in the pair's final scene together, Seinfeld makes the same criticism, prompting George to ask whether they'd had this conversation before. Indeed, they had. The show about nothing moniker wasn't intentional. During a 2014 Reddit AMA, co-creator and star Jerry Seinfeld told fans the show about nothing, sobriquet, though a joke within a later episode, was never intended by Seinfeld and creative partner Larry David to become as ubiquitous with the show as it has. In reality, the pair had pitched the show to NBC as a series following a comedian garnering material for his stand-up act. The gang's favorite diner, Monk's, was famous long before Seinfeld. The real diner used for the exterior shots of the group's grub spot, Tom's Restaurant, located near Columbia University, was the inspiration for the 1982 Suzanne Vega song Tom's Diner before appearing on the show. Kramer was originally Kessler, Kenny Kramer, Seinfeld's real-life former neighbor and inspiration for the Kramer character, was initially reluctant to allow Seinfeld to use his name in the series. The real Kramer would eventually relent, allowing Seinfeld to change the character's name from Kessler to Kramer after the pilot episode was finished filming. Jason Alexander wasn't Jerry Seinfeld's first pick to play George. While it's seemingly impossible to imagine anybody else in the role of George, Seinfeld told Access Hollywood he'd initially begged comedian Jake Johansson to assume the role. Thankfully, Johansson declined the offer, and the role was given to Alexander instead. Jason Alexander thought the show would never make it to air. Though he'd personally found the script to be brilliant, Alexander admitted to Deseret News he didn't think the show would last. When asked about his reasoning, Alexander stated, "Because the audience for the show is me, and I don't watch TV. But I don't think anyone is more surprised by the success of Seinfeld than we are, because we thought, oh, we'll amuse ourselves and that'll be it. We'll have a videotape at the end of it that we could play at parties." Rosie O'Donnell almost played Elaine. O'Donnell, with the encouragement of series co-creator and longtime friend Larry David, auditioned for the role of the series' female lead, Elaine. While Seinfeld was impressed with O'Donnell's performance, the role would eventually be given to Julia Louis-Dreyfus instead. Jerry had 66 girlfriends throughout the series. Astonishingly, Jerry racked up an improbable 66 girlfriends throughout the course of the show's run. They were portrayed by actors like Lori Loughlin, Anna Gunn, Catherine Keener, and Deborah Messing, solidifying his Lothario status. Jason Alexander almost quit the show. After not being included in a Season 3 episode of the show, Alexander threatened to quit if he was left out of another episode. 2 actors have played Jerry's father. Before being replaced by Barney Martin, Jerry's father was played by actor Philip Burns.